A young boy named Max introduces Ani, his childhood friend. He explains that Ane was always there for him during every first experience of his life. They grew up together, and their friendship eventually turned romantic. But on Max's 19th birthday, while the two were driving, their car crashed. Ane died in the accident, and Max was sentenced to prison for involuntary manslaughter. In prison, Max had to pay for protection. His grandmother managed to send him money, but eventually he couldn't keep up. When the payments stopped, he was beaten. One day, other inmates shoved him into a washing machine and left him spinning for an hour. When he finally got out, he thought he was going to die. But instead of pain, he felt strangely free, and that gave him the strength to stand up again. He cracked a joke as he rose and the others cheered. From then on, Max focused on improving himself and eventually became a fighter in prison. Not long after, his plea deal was accepted. He was released early for good behavior, and everyone cheered as he walked out. His father was waiting outside. He told Max a war was about to break out and insisted that he join him in a bunker. At first, Max refused, accusing his father of ruining their relationship. But after much pleading, he reluctantly agreed. They were flown to the bunker, Chimera, which was built inside an ancient cavern beneath a lake. Inside, their belongings were taken, and they were given suits and health monitoring bracelets. Max was surprised to find his mother and grandmother waiting for him there. Later, Max ran into Anie's father. He apologized and the man softened, inviting him to join their family for lunch. However, Anie's sister, Asia, was still bitter. They all sat at the table together, but Max's grandmother refused to get food from the buffet. Anie's father told a waiter that she had cancer and couldn't walk, convincing them to serve her instead. During the meal, Asia brought up Anie again, demanding to know why Max ran after the accident. Tension rose, but others stepped in to calm her down. Soon after, the bunker's administrator addressed everyone, explaining what life there would be like. Later, Guillermo, Anie's father, vented his anger. Though he had invited Max, he confessed to his new wife, Mimi, that he still hated him and only pretended otherwise. He admitted he had married Mimi while grieving for his daughter and late wife, and not because he loves her. Max later tried to talk to Asia, but she was still furious. After their argument, he gave her Anie's phone. In her room, Asia began watching the old videos of Max and Anie together. Suddenly, the bunker shook violently and began collapsing. An announcement ordered everyone to move to the dome. Asia rushed to find her father and eventually did, with Max and his father helping him walk. Together, they ran to safety. Inside the dome, they saw live footage of devastation outside. The administrator announced that a nuclear explosion had struck, cutting them off from the world. Soon after, the feed went dark. As the group sat together, Rafa, Max's father, revealed that Max had fled the accident scene years earlier because he told him to do so. He admitted he regretted it and had testified against his own son in court, which led to Max's 3-year sentence. Hearing this, Frida angrily told Rafa she never loved him. Power returned shortly after, and a team was sent outside to restore communication. The others watched through cameras as the team wandered through a ruined, radiation-soaked wasteland. One man, Luca, was struck by a hot iron rod. His glove melted, and he was exposed to radiation before stumbling back inside. The camera was quickly shut off. Back in the control room, the bunker administrator, Minerva, laughed with her team. She revealed the shocking truth. The explosion had only been a simulation. The outside world was still perfectly peaceful. Before everything, a group of conspirators met to finalize their plan. Step by step, they designed a scheme to make the bunker's residents believe a nuclear war had broken out. Every event inside, the explosion, the collapsing walls, even the footage of destruction, was pre-planned. What the residents watched was nothing more than a carefully staged movie. Later, as everyone rested in the dome, Max brought food to his mother, Frida, trying to reassure her that life would go on. Meanwhile, Rafa was stung by Frida's harsh words. Guillermo tried to console him, saying she still cared for him and was only angry. Elsewhere, Asia kept watching Anie's old phone, scrolling through video messages exchanged between Anie and Max. Suddenly, she heard choking sounds from another room. Breaking the door, she found a woman attempting to hang herself. Asia cut the rope in time and managed to save her, but the woman resented being rescued. Soon after, Minerva's voice echoed over the PA, announcing it was safe for everyone to return to their apartments. Back in the control room, Minerva and her team worked on Luca's body, making it appear scorched and ravaged by radiation. That night, Rafa tried to sleep beside Frida, but she rejected him, insisting divorce was the only option. Rafa broke down, calling her fake and accusing her of betrayal. When he asked if she loved someone else, Frida admitted she was in love with her yoga teacher. She packed her things to stay with her mother, while Rafa caused a public scene, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. Later, Rafa stormed into the dining hall demanding food. When he broke in, Minerva sent security to restrain him. Refusing to drop the food, Rafa was tased. Max stepped in, and a fight broke out. Max overpowered one guard and more poured in, until Minerva finally ordered them to stand down, allowing him to leave. Meanwhile, Mimi and Guillermo reflected on their strained marriage. Guillermo confessed life had been better when she was his lover, and everything changed after they married. Despite this, Mimi held on to hope, suggesting a divorce might rekindle their spark. In her room, Asia stumbled upon an intimate video Max had sent to Ani. Flustered, she left to take a shower. While she was gone, guards approached Mimi, asking if her blood type was AB negative. When she confirmed, they escorted her away. Asia tried to follow, but the guards refused to reveal anything. Standing outside, Asia was approached by Max, who asked if she had watched the videos. She admitted they were painful to see, and she couldn't. When he asked for the phone back, she told him she had burned the SIM card, destroying everything. They argued and Asia walked off. Inside the infirmary, Mimi was told the injured man from earlier required surgery and that they needed her blood. 2 others were also donating, but in truth, this was another staged event meant to instill fear. Afterward, Mimi saw Luca's disfigured body. Horrified, she watched him vomit blood, leaving her deeply shaken. Outside, she shared her fears with Asia, who realized the truth. They were trapped and could not leave. In the control room, the conspirators celebrated their success. But one of them, Julia, was overcome with panic. Minerva followed her and tried to calm her with a kiss, but Julia pushed her away, insisting she wanted out. She threatened to expose everything to the bunker's residents if Minerva didn't let her leave. Their argument escalated until Minerva's brother Zero appeared, offering Julia medication. Furious, she reminded him that she was his doctor, not the other way around. Without hesitation, Zero shoved her violently. Julia fell to her death. Guillermo's background is revealed. Born into a wealthy family, he inherited and expanded the business empire, eventually becoming the head of 64 companies and an influential figure. During the bunker's planning phase, Minerva and her team studied a documentary about his life. She expressed her hatred for the rich, remarking that revolutions in Russia and France had changed everything once. But such uprisings were no longer possible. Since they couldn't fight capitalism, they decided to infiltrate it instead. That was how their plan began. The next morning, Julia's body was discovered. Garcia demanded to see the security footage. Meanwhile, in their quarters, Frida argued with her mother, saying she wanted to start fresh without Rafa and repair her broken relationship with her as well. Garcia examined the footage. Despite the reality, the video appeared to show Julia jumping on her own, ending her life. In the cafeteria, Rafa struggled to find a seat since he was not allowed to sit at his family's assigned table anymore. Soon after, Minerva called an emergency meeting. She announced that Luca had died from radiation exposure and Julia had ended it for herself due to anxiety. She told the group their situation was no longer temporary. She revealed that food rationing had begun and publicly scolded Rafa for his outbursts. She also accused Max of fighting a guard and ordered him to return the taser he had taken. Later, Guillermo spoke about Ane. Asia, restless, tossed a spoon into the garbage chute. Curious, she asked a staff member where the waste went. He said it was a restricted area, but she pleaded, claiming she had accidentally thrown away her sister's bracelet. In a flashback, Garcia questioned how they could make so many people vanish without raising suspicion. Minerva explained her solution. Each person would send video messages saying they were away on a vacation. For anyone who pressed further, the bunker's AI, Roxanne, would handle the deception. Back in the bunker, Guillermo received an urgent call, but instead of answering, Roxanne mimicked his way of texting and responded. Asia and the staff member descended into the waste disposal area. When the compactor switched on, he urged her to leave, but she kept searching. Pretending to have found the bracelet, she finally left. Outside, the staff member confronted her. He had seen her pick up a phone. Asia confessed it was Anne's, which she had thrown away earlier because she couldn't stand Max's messages. Later, while Max was playing basketball, Minerva sent guards to retrieve the taser. Distracted by memories of Julia, she pulled Zero aside. He apologized, admitting he hadn't meant to push Julia and was stable on his medication. He asked if she wanted him removed from the project, but she refused. To comfort herself, she turned to Julia's simulation, which Zero had been refining for 5 years to perfectly replicate her. This was what made the footage that Garcia saw jump earlier. Meanwhile, guard Yako confronted Max about the taser. Max first lied that he had lost it, But when Yako threatened to send him to the basement, he showed it and suggested they play basketball for it. Yako countered with 10,000 punches. The fight began fiercely. Despite warnings from another guard, Yako pressed on. He overpowered Max at first, but Max delivered a decisive final blow, knocking Yako out. Yako was rushed to the infirmary with everyone scrambling to save him. Meanwhile, Asia confronted Max, asking what had happened. He admitted to the fight, but worried he might have killed someone. Asia noticed a bone protruding from his shoulder, the result of his final punch. In the infirmary, Yako's condition deteriorated. Some urged that he be sent outside the bunker, but Minerva refused, insisting no doctors could be brought in either. At the same time, Asia worked to reset Max's dislocated bone. After much struggle, she finally twisted it back into place. Minerva interrupted and dragged her to check on Yako instead. Examining him, Asia realized the problem and administered medication to raise his heart rate. Yako's heartbeat stabilized, and he opened his eyes. Meanwhile, Guillermo's phone continued to ring. The same man who had left a voice message now sent a video, stressing how urgent it was. He insisted Guillermo call him immediately, saying it was something they had been waiting 20 years to accomplish. Elsewhere, Minerva approached Max, accusing him of killing a man, only to say they had resurrected him. Max defended himself, saying it was self-defense, then demanded to know why the bunker felt so much like a prison. Without answering, Minerva took the taser, declared that weapons weren't allowed, and shocked him until he collapsed. She then ordered staff to stitch him up. Meanwhile, the residents were brought to the highest level of the bunker and seated at desks. With the antennas damaged, they were instructed to use auxiliary transmitters to send distress signals. Each person was given a radio. Rafa attended a group therapy session where he described how talking to Roxanne in the mornings felt eerily similar to conversations with his wife. He confessed that even before she left, he had been alone all along. When it was Guillermo's turn, he expressed regret about betraying a friend. He told Rafa that he was the only true friend he had left and recalled how he had once begged Rafa to testify against his son, and Rafa had done it. Guillermo said he would never forget, and the two men embraced. Elsewhere, Frida's mother pretended she had overheard French on the radio. She summoned a French speaker, but her real motive was to make him sit close to Frida and herself with Mimi. Sitting together, she opened up about her struggles and then steered the conversation toward Guillermo, hinting at his feelings for Mimi. Their chat turned flirtatious, but Mimi's attention shifted when she overheard a distress call from an aircraft. Garcia took over the radio, attempting to respond. Unbeknownst to them, it was another stage performance by Minerva's team, meant to heighten fear and reinforce the illusion of danger. Later, Rafa met a woman named Elena in the massage room. She asked him for medicine to ease her stress, and Guillermo invited her to join him at the bar, clearly setting Rafa up with her. Elsewhere, Asia treated Max's wounds. As he looked at her, he kept seeing Annie, since Asia repeated phrases lifted from Annie's old recordings. As Asia began stitching, the tension grew unbearable for her. She stormed out, unable to continue. Meanwhile, Guillermo's friend Oswaldo sent another urgent message, threatening to come find him if he didn't respond. To buy time, Minerva devised a plan: create a virtual replica of Guillermo to handle the call. When the video call began, the replica explained away Guillermo's silence by claiming it was late in the Philippines. Oswaldo revealed that Orduna had finally agreed to sell. Lacking an immediate response, the team faked a network glitch while Roxanne gathered data. Once restored, the conversation resumed enthusiastically. But when Oswaldo pressed Guillermo to sign within a day, they decided to change tactics. The replica spoke of a failing marriage, then claimed Guillermo wanted to sell everything and build schools in poor countries. Shocked, Oswaldo told him to forget what he just said. He then revealed something Roxanne couldn't anticipate. Panicked, the team cut the call. Later, Max confronted Asia about abandoning him mid-treatment. She lashed out, calling him a monster who had ruined her family's life. She said she hated him, yet as she was speaking those words, she was fantasizing about kissing him. Fighting the impulse, she walked away after delivering her cruel words. The team continued trying to decipher Oswaldo's message. He had mentioned BJ3, but Roxanne couldn't determine what it meant. Under stress, Minerva remembered her past. At age 12, she went to pick up her younger brother Zero, who was being bullied. Furious after seeing an R scrawled on his uniform, she attacked his tormentors. Back home, they discovered their mother had abandoned them, leaving a note saying she couldn't be a mother. Social services tried to separate them because of Zero's disorder, but the siblings sabotaged the worker's car, ensuring they stayed together. Misfits in every environment, they poured themselves into education, earning degree after degree. Despite Minerva's well-paying job, she realized the rich always gain more. While corporations made billions, she barely earned thousands. That was when she decided to build a bunker and make the wealthy pay for it. In the present, Roxanne uncovered a possible lead. Anne once called Guillermo's horse BJ, but Zero doubted Oswaldo was referring to a horse, since they were discussing a 1.4 billion euro deal, not a 40 million euro animal. Still, Minerva suggested Orduno might want to humiliate Guillermo by taking his prized horse. Unsure, they decided to risk answering Oswaldo's call. The Guillermo replica pretended to be offended by the suggestion of selling the horse, only to discover that was exactly what Oswaldo meant. Relieved, they played along, and Guillermo agreed. Oswaldo asked about the horse's passport and the safe's combination. The replica told him to call again from home the next day, then ended the call. At the bar, Guillermo, Rafa, Elena, and a staff member, Ingrid, celebrated with champagne. Secretly, Ingrid was trying to gain his trust and extract the safe's combination. Meanwhile, Max discovered an earpiece Jaco had dropped during their fight. Slipping it on, he overheard Rafa and the others, but the surveillance team quickly cut the audio. A staff member confiscated it and escorted him to the infirmary. While treating Jaco, Asia was surprised when he asked her out to thank her for saving his life. Later, Asia encountered Tirso, the staffer who had helped her retrieve Ani's phone. Emotional, she asked him for a hug. Minerva watched from the surveillance room, observing every move. Back in the bar, Ingrid drew Guillermo into conversation, while Rafa bonded with Elena. Suddenly, Max pounded on the door, and Rafa let him in. Max, suspicious, realized their bracelets contained microphones. He demanded a drink, and when staffer Cindy arrived, Guillermo left with Ingrid. She lured him to the director's office, offering him a hidden drink and pushing the conversation further. Elsewhere, Frida told Mimi she had seen Guillermo with Ingrid. Curtains drawn, looking intimate. Mimi, upset, decided to confront him. Frida and her mother followed, and Ingrid was warned they were on their way. Thinking fast, Ingrid set up a game. Guillermo would write answers to her questions, and she would guess if he was lying. If she lost, she promised him something exciting. With Mimi and the others minutes away, Minerva cut the power, trapping them in the elevator. Ingrid pressed Guillermo for the safe combination. Pretending reluctance, he recited numbers without writing them down. Roxanne flagged a 63% chance of truth. Guillermo confirmed, claiming he never writes passwords. Before things escalated, Mimi forced open the elevator doors, fire extinguisher in hand. She accused Guillermo of manipulating her, thanked him for giving her clarity, and walked away determined to leave him for good. Meanwhile, Rafa and Elena grew closer. Asia continued watching Ane's videos, and Max bonded with Cindy. But Guillermo caught Asia watching her sister's phone. Demanding to know where she got it, he stormed to Max's room and confronted him. Furious, he beat Max, accusing him of pursuing Asia. Frida intervened, striking Guillermo with a vase. Bleeding, Guillermo apologized to her. In a shocking twist, Frida embraced and kissed him, revealing that he was the man she loved. Now both free from their marriages, she suggested they be together. The team gathered to discuss their next steps. Garcia argued it was unnecessary to keep pushing and suggested simply telling Oswaldo that Guillermo didn't want to sell his daughter's horse. Minerva disagreed. Their first option would be to crack the safe. If that failed, Plan B would be to feign Guillermo's anger at the suggestion of selling the horse. If Plan A succeeded, they could move on to their larger scheme, making major financial decisions in Guillermo's name, then slowly extending that control to others as well. Meanwhile, Mimi, feeling nauseous, was haunted by flashbacks of Guillermo. She took the elevator down to the dome. Elsewhere, Asia approached Max to apologize. He lashed out, accusing her and her family of clinging to the past. Turning cold, he told her he felt nothing but hate toward her. He reminded her that she had always mocked her sister's love for him as superficial. He walked away, leaving Asia shaken. Returning to her room, she felt ill, overwhelmed by reflection, and finally realized she had always been in love with Max. At Guillermo's house, Oswaldo asked for the 8-digit safe code. The team only had 7 numbers, but they gambled by giving them anyway. Oswaldo realized the number is Ani's birthday and filled in the missing digit himself. With the safe open, the replica instructed Oswaldo to purchase a young company in Bangkok. It is a unicorn, meaning it is valued at over 1 billion euros. Minerva's vision was to start more such companies, worth around 850 million euros, with untraceable funding. Back in the bunker, Rafa returned in the morning. When Max asked where he had been, Rafa admitted he'd slept with Elena. Max told him his relationship with Frida had never been real and urged him to move on. Later, Max confronted Minerva directly about the microphones and cameras. She defended the surveillance, saying no one knew how long they would be trapped and order had to be maintained. As she spoke, Max discreetly hooked his foot on a plug and pulled it, knocking her laptop to the ground. While she was distracted, he swiped a book from the shelf. Down in the dome, Mimi grew worse. Feeling suffocated, she tore at her clothes and collapsed, unable to breathe. At the same time, Frida and Guillermo were together, growing more intimate. In her room, Asia crawled under her bed, gasping for breath. Back at the dome, Mimi tried to stand but couldn't. Later, Frida asked Guillermo to apologize to Max. After Guillermo left, she called Ingrid over for a massage but then confronted her. Accusing Ingrid of being with Guillermo, she threatened to smash her head with a fire extinguisher if she didn't stay away. Guards noticed a television switched on in the dome and then spotted Mimi lying on the floor. Minerva rushed to her with Jaco, then informed Asia. In the infirmary, Asia relayed Mimi's symptoms to Roxanne for diagnosis. The AI listed 76 possible illnesses. Asia provided blood and urine samples, and Roxanne finally narrowed it down: hepatic encephalopathy. Asia was stunned. She asked about dialysis, but Roxanne confirmed there was no machine and no other alternatives. Soon, Guillermo arrived. Asia told him Mimi's liver was failing. Antibiotics might buy time, but if her body didn't respond, she would die within 72 hours. Guillermo later apologized to Max for beating him earlier. Understanding the pressure he was under, Max forgave him. Guillermo confided his fear of losing Mimi, and Max reassured him they would find a way. He then approached Asia, who was sitting on the floor, and quietly asked her to walk with him. Max and Asia slipped away to a private spot. Max pulled out a stack of cards, each with messages written on them, telling her to play along because they were being listened to. He discreetly pointed to the bracelet, signaling where the microphone was. On the cards, he explained that he had asked Minerva about going outside to get a dialysis machine, but she had refused. Out loud, however, they staged a conversation as if they were confessing their love, pretending to finally give in to their feelings. The guards monitoring the audio were convinced the two were romantically involved, not conspiring. Secretly, Max suggested disabling the security system first, then shutting down Roxanne. They agreed to meet in an hour, with Asia tasked to bring surgical tape and a Bluetooth speaker. Jaco, listening in, grew furious. He thought he had Asia under control. Later, Asia checked on Mimi, who seemed a little better. Victoria, Frida's mother, asked if Mimi could come home with her, insisting her personal nurse, Antonio, was skilled enough to care for her. Meanwhile, Guillermo's replica contacted Oswaldo about the new investment. Oswaldo was skeptical, calling it just another startup, but didn't suspect anything unusual. Guillermo instructed him to begin negotiations at 720 million euros, not exceeding 850 million euros. Then the call ended. Max went to Rafa, warning him that Asia would be coming to his room and asking him to stay quiet about it, especially to Guillermo. In return, Rafa shared a secret he had never told his son. After Ane's death, Guillermo confronted him about arriving at the crash site so quickly. Rafa admitted he had been following Max that night because Max was drunk and it was raining. By the time he arrived, Ane was already dead. Guillermo then pressured Rafa to testify against Max. When Rafa refused, Guillermo threatened to have Max killed. Shocked, Max asked how his father could remain friends with someone who threatened his son. Rafa insisted it was complicated. Max admitted he had stopped trusting him after the trial, but at least now he finally understood why. Elsewhere, Victoria comforted Mimi by offering her a cigarette, then applied a morphine patch to her neck. While playing basketball, Guillermo confided in Frida. He said his priorities were his daughter first, then friendship, then love, meaning he couldn't go public with their relationship for Rafa's sake. Disappointed, Frida kissed him and told him it would be the last time unless he changed his priorities. Back in Max's room, Asia joined him. To fool Roxanne, Max turned on loud music, pretending they were about to be intimate. Beneath the cover of noise, he shared his plan to reach the surface and get the dialysis machine. Asia confessed that when she said she hated him, she hadn't meant it. Max then revealed he had once found an emergency exit in the ceiling. All they needed was a distraction to reach the staircase. Asia replied that she knew how to make a bomb. Together, they began discussing how to shut down Roxanne, though Asia grew increasingly distracted by Max's closeness. Elsewhere, Frida called Jaco aside to discuss his fight with Max. She asked him to apologize, but their conversation escalated into intimacy. Meanwhile, Oswaldo visited the startup office for the investment. Finding it generic, he called Guillermo to complain it looked like every other small company. He revealed they wouldn't buy it. Someone else had already made a better offer. The buyer was Luca, the guard everyone believed had died and been removed from the bunker. At the same time, Max and Asia drilled into Roxanne's system, finally disabling it. Communication between Guillermo and Oswaldo was abruptly cut. On Oswaldo's screen, Roxanne's name appeared, leaving him baffled about who or what Roxanne was. Oswaldo called Guillermo and left a message telling him he was returning to Spain. He no longer wanted to stay involved. Meanwhile, Max and Asia carefully covered the hole they had drilled. When Roxanne came back online, the AI didn't detect any faulty connections. Guillermo's replica, later called Oswaldo, asking if he was truly leaving. Oswaldo replied that they would find another unicorn, but the replica insisted he had already booked a suite and that Oswaldo could meet the CEO tomorrow. Reluctantly, Oswaldo agreed. Elsewhere, Max confronted Jaco, threatening him for asking Asia on a date. Jaco provoked him by admitting he had slept with Frida. Furious, Max fought him, giving Asia a chance to quietly take something from the table. Afterward, Max confronted his mother. He accused her of Jaco, then revealed he knew about Guillermo. He lashed out, calling her selfish and a liar, like her own mother. Shaken, she was left distraught as Max walked away. Heartbroken, Max broke down in front of Asia, who held him to comfort him. Meanwhile, Victoria and Mimi, high on morphine patches, grew close and eventually kissed. Back in his room, Max crawled under his bed covers, and Asia followed. He confessed he had never been wanted, that he was disgusted by his family, and that he longed to live in the real world. Later, he told Rafa that his mother had been in love with Guillermo for 28 years, that he had always been the love of her life. Returning to Asia, he said he wanted to be intimate, but not under surveillance. He cut off his bracelet, promising Minerva through the device that he would put it back on afterward. Jaco overheard this, furious, but Minerva dismissed it as two kids wanting privacy. Guillermo searched for Mimi and found her asleep with Victoria. Enraged, he stormed to Rafa to tell him about what he saw. Rafa pretended like he didn't know about him and Frida and told Guillermo he wasn't over Frida, urging him to talk to her since he was her best friend. Guillermo confronted Frida about being intimate with Jaco. She headbutted him, breaking his nose, and told him he had no control over her. She demanded he confess his love for her publicly. Outside, Rafa waited for them. He then told Guillermo the truth. 10 minutes before his wife Martha died, she had learned of his affair, and that was why she ended her life. Rafa walked away, leaving Guillermo stunned. In Bangkok, Oswaldo dined at a restaurant and spotted Ingrid crying with another woman. Using a translator app, he overheard the woman pretending to be Ingrid's mother. Soon after, a man posing as her father arrived and led her away. Intrigued, Oswaldo followed Ingrid, offered to help, and the two went for drinks. At the club, they danced and grew closer, unaware that every patron was an actor. Back in the bunker, Asia told Tirso she was with Max now. Tirso didn't judge her but asked why she was with someone so violent. At that moment, Max appeared behind him and strangled him, while Asia injected him with a needle. Tirso collapsed. Asia disguised herself in his clothes and walked out. In Bangkok, Ingrid and Oswaldo went to her room and nearly got intimate, but she left suddenly after a phone call, giving him her Instagram before disappearing. The next morning, Oswaldo received a call from Guillermo's replica, urging him to close the deal immediately. Meanwhile, Max and Asia built their bomb. At the company office, Oswaldo prepared to sign the deal, but Luca appeared, offering 900 million euros. Determined, Oswaldo raised his bid and signed. Yet before the transfer was complete, Max and Asia disabled Roxanne, severing all communication. Despite the cut, the money reached their account. At that exact moment, the bomb exploded, creating chaos in the bunker. Max prepared to escape through the emergency exit. The bunker descended into disorder. Max and Asia coordinated quietly, but then Roxanne rebooted. Jaco stormed into Asia's room, finding her in bed sleeping with Tirso. Pulling a gun, he forced her to come with him. Meanwhile, as his plane was about to leave, Oswaldo saw the woman who was posing as Ingrid's mother on screen. She is an actor. He realized he had been scammed. The Instagram Ingrid had given him was deleted. Recalling the staged encounters, he told his pilot to return to Bangkok. When he revisited the company, it was gone. Furious, he called Guillermo's replica, asking private questions to know if it was really Guillermo. Realizing he wasn't speaking to the real Guillermo, he vowed to report him to the police. Back in the bunker, Minerva told Asia that Mimi had gone into cardiac arrest. Jaco insisted Max was behind the chaos, and Minerva finally realized he was trying to escape. Jaco went after him. Asia discovered the morphine patches on Mimi, kicked everyone out, and tried to save her, but it was too late. Mimi was gone. Devastated, Asia told Max there was no reason to escape anymore, but Max insisted he had to. To stop him, she confessed her love. He called her precious, but said he had to leave and would return for her. Mask on, he entered the elevator. Luca chased after him, gun in hand. In Bangkok, Oswaldo called the police, but Luca and Ingrid ambushed him. Luca snapped his neck and took his phone. As Oswaldo lay on the ground, people surrounded him. Finally, Max reached the surface world.